Well, I think it's very serious, and I look at the conflicts across the region as all being on one chessboard. And the responsible party here are the Ayatollahs in Tehran through their surrogate proxy groups, the terrorists like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, the Shia militia groups in Iraq and Syria. It's not entirely clear what Iran's objective is here, but since the Hamas attack of October the 7th, I think it's been clear that this is an effort to implement Qasem Soleimani's Ring of Fire strategy against Israel, and it's gravely threatening to peace and security all across the region. But I don't think this is a series of separate conflicts. I think it's basically all driven by Tehran. Well, I think Iran was motivated in part because of the danger they saw of the Gulf Arab countries, in particular, drawing closer to Israel. The prospect that Saudi Arabia would join other Gulf countries that have exchanged full diplomatic recognition with Israel. But in general, the threat to their efforts to achieve hegemony within the Middle East and within the Islamic world, uh, so that they felt that this was a time to move. Now, how successful they're going to be, and whether the U.S. and Israel, the Arab states, others can stand against them, we don't know. We've just seen the attack yesterday in Kerman of the commemoration ceremony for Qasem Soleimani's death. Perhaps ISIS-K, has claimed responsibility for that today. We don't know whether that's true or not, but there's a lot of instability in the region that Iran's efforts and its terrorist surrogates have set in motion, and we it's hard to predict what the end of it will be. Well, I think, as you say, there have been some retaliatory attacks against the Houthi for their attacks in the Red Sea, and some against the Shia militia in Iraq for their attacks on American military and civilian personnel in country. But I don't think those retaliations have been sufficient to stop the attacks. I don't think that the militia or the Houthi are deterred by the actions that the U.S. And its allies, Great Britain, have taken so far. And certainly in Iran itself, they have felt no consequences, paid no price for this belligerent behavior. And I think until you establish real structures of deterrence by making it clear to Iran and its surrogates that whatever damage they think they can do to us, they will pay a far higher price than they expect. Only then do you get deterrence, and I don't think we've done that yet. Well, I certainly agree with the steps that have been taken against the militias in Iraq and against the Houthi efforts in Yemen. But I think it's almost certainly the case that in Tehran, they view Hamas, the Houthi, all of these surrogates as expendable. Uh, in Iran itself, the Revolutionary Guards, the Quds Force, have paid no price whatever for all of this aggressive activity. And I think until they do, Iran will continue these actions that threaten peace and security all across the region. Do I believe that the current White House is prepared to take military steps against Iran? I very much doubt it. I think that's a major part of the problem with America's policy. They don't see that Iran is really the central actor here. And they're more concerned about not widening the war, as they put it, than they are with dealing with this threat to people in the region, specifically to American personnel in Iraq and on our ships in the Red Sea. No, I don't think it's clear. I think that the Biden White House is more concerned with not seeing the war grow more intense than it is with dealing with the real problem. You can ask the Ayatollahs in Tehran politely to stop all this belligerent activity, and they will ignore it, which is what's happening. Or you can show them that they will be met with power far in excess of what they're prepared to bring to the conflict, and that the price they will pay will be beyond what they calculated. That will get their attention. That is the way, I think, to bring peace back to the region. But there's no sign that the White House is prepared to do that. And I think that's concern to all of America's friends in the regions because they're there getting the brunt of these belligerent Iranian activities directly and through their surrogates. Well, I think when the U.S. retaliates, they go after militia groups that they believe have been responsible for the attacks on American personnel, and their bases or their operating camps may be almost anywhere in the country. So it's not intended, obviously, to be targeted against Kurdish forces or Kurdish positions, but really against these proxies for Iran. They are and should be the proper target. Well, look, U.S. forces have been there since the overthrow of Saddam Hussein at the request of the Iraqi government. Obviously, if the government were really serious that they wanted us to withdraw, we would. We're not going to impose ourselves by force, unlike Iran and others in the region. But it's been a pattern that for domestic political consumption. Sometimes leaders will say the U.S. forces should withdraw, and then we're told quietly, don't pay any attention to that, just stay where you are. We'll let things get back to normal. And I hope that continues to be the case. I think we do provide security by being in country, and I think to leave and to have one less barrier to the extension of Iranian influence is a plus for the people of Iraq. Well, I do think the response from the coalition has been weak, and I think that sends a signal to the Ayatollahs in Tehran that they can continue to have the militia carry out these attacks, and that Iran will enjoy impunity. And that's a mistake. You don't get deterrence until the aggressor understands that the pain that they're going to feel outweighs whatever benefit they think they're going to get from taking action. So we have not achieved creating deterrence yet. And I think until we do, we're just going to see more of the same and more casualties. The risk here is that there would be a mass casualty incident where substantial number of American service members or civilians would be killed. And that would be a tragedy. And that in turn would force the Biden administration to take even stronger military action. So the best way to get to a position of peace and security is to act now before a lot more is required to get back to stability. Well, I think the Iraqi government should do more. This is part of the problem, though, of the increasing Iranian influence in the country. I think what Iran is trying to do is put together the different militias into one organization. I mean, they've announced that as their intention, much like they created Hezbollah in Lebanon in the 1980s out of a variety of smaller terrorist groups. That kind of unified capability would be a direct threat to the government in Baghdad. So this is something I think that really is should concern any of the population of Iraq, whatever their view on the government in Baghdad, because it would result in the near future in a significant increase in Iran's ability to control events in Iraq. Well, I think it will lead to greater instability. I think in areas that don't particularly want to be controlled by Shia militia under the direction of the mullahs in Tehran. That's very bad news, and I think it's very risky to Kurdistan because as Iranian control in Iraq increases, I think the threat to Kurdish autonomy is very, very real.